This is the Yanks Go Yard podcast with Adam Weinrib and Thomas Carannante.
Welcome to a Thursday live edition of the Yanks Go Yard podcast. I'm Adam Weinrib alongside Thomas Carannante. Who saw it coming? We have to react live to a signing during the lockout. Definitely a thing I did not anticipate, but the New York Yankees transaction wire announced they've signed Ender Inciarte to play center field in Scranton, take Clint Frazier's place with the Rail Riders, play in the major leagues. I don't know, but Ender Inciarte is a Yankee, and in case you were wondering how old he was, he's 31. So it's worth talking about. Kind of interesting. Plus, cocky Aaron Judge ready to go for 50 bombs in his walk year. Why don't we just extend this guy? The Oakland Athletics are maybe making catcher Sean Murphy available, so let's just expand those A's trades we've all got cooked up in our brains. And yes, no, maybe somewhere in the middle on an Eric Hosmer trade. Folks, make sure to find us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. Drop us a 5-star review along with a mailbag question. We'll be more than happy to answer it. Come join us live on YouTube every Monday and Thursday, 2 o'clock Eastern, during this incredibly dead offseason that just got woken up by an Ender Inciarte deal. The biggest free agent signing legally that can happen at this juncture. Thomas, welcome to the podcast. How you doing? Do you remember where you were when the Yankees signed Ender Inciarte?
I'm doing pretty good, hanging out. There's been some buzz around the industry, so it's been a little bit more entertaining this week than yeah, you know, the good industry buzz. We're not contributing to the industry buzz. We're just reacting to it.
We're just I wish I had the industry buzz. Yeah, we're hanging out in the vicinity of the industry buzz, just telling the people behind us what the buzz is.
Yeah, I wish I had buzz. It'd be really cool to transmit the buzz and electrify others. But hey, here we are having fun. Inciarte, dude. Crazy enough, I thought about this because broken off season brain is a thing for most of us. Yeah. And I thought about this like last week, and I was like, what if they go and take a flyer on Ender Inciarte, who like was an all-star a few seasons ago and still was like playing decent baseball. It's just been like the last 3 years that have kind of come down for him. And get him on board and maybe do the platoon thing in center field, because it seems like that might be what they're doing. But here we are. They signed him to a minor league deal per the transaction page. It wasn't even an announcement. It wasn't anything of the sort. It popped up on the transaction page, and I don't think this is a bad idea. I really don't. Hey, look, we had one center field option. One, Starling Marte. That was it. He's gone. There's nobody else you can get that is that's going to be worthwhile for your money in free agency. There's not anybody you can get for a relatively low-cost price on the trade market. That's why we were talking about last episode, potentially trading for Lorenzo Cain and giving the Brewers a reason to either eat some of his salary or take on less for us to platoon him in center field with Aaron Hicks. Because once again, we don't need the best players at every position. We just need guys who can maybe produce. Inciarte, as early as 2018. I'll give him 2018. 2018 was a decent year for him. Played in 156 games, batted .265. I'll take it. OPS over 705. Stole 28 bags. If you could do that in the 9-hole, I mean, that's light years ahead of what we were getting this past year from anybody who was in the 8 and 9-hole. I understand he's not going to be the all-star he was in 2017. I understand he's probably not the pristine Gold Glove outfielder that he once was. A few years that was. Oh no, he was a Gold Glover in 2018. So
yeah, 3 times.
Could be there. Yeah, 3 times in a row, 2016 to 2018. So I don't think this is a bad move. I also still do not think this is a Yankees-esque move. The Yankees shouldn't be taking flyers on guys who have played 150 games over the last 3 years and have been exiled from the team they were once supposed to be a franchise cornerstone for. But I'm not going to get angry about this. I think if the strategy is to platoon in center and just have guys capable of playing every other day to limit the possibility of them getting hurt, because we know Aaron Hicks is is injury prone. And Inciarte brings an entirely different skill set to the game. He's a little bit he's faster. He can cover a lot of ground. And he was once a contact heavy lefty bat, and that would sure be nice to have at the bottom of the lineup.
I'm not gonna go off and attack the Ender Inciarte signing as if I need to, address this with fury. Like, it's certainly. I'm also not going to be incredibly, through the roof excited about it. But it's a much bigger name than I expected to be adding on the minor league waiver wire, especially on Thursday, December 16th, the day that the Yankees. I mean, you saw all the other guys the Yankees signed.
Yeah,
I've never heard of any of those people. John Heyman informed me they signed a pitcher who spent time with the White Sox and Royals, I think, and that's great. I've never heard of that man. Wish him the best of luck on the Scranton Shuttle. But Ender Inciarte is a 31-year-old 2017 All-Star who, again, has not appeared a lot over the last couple seasons, but the age of 31 definitely surprised me. I would have said 34, 35. I would have thought he was closer to Nick Markakis territory than he is to he's younger than Anthony Rizzo. Like I would have seen that coming. He was previously a beyond serviceable player and exactly the kind of guy that we're talking about, a good Yankees team being able to plug into the 9-hole. At his peak, his offense was roughly equivalent to what Gio Urshela gave us this year in a down year, but his peak is no longer there. He is probably going to OPS plus in the mid to high 80s over, 70, 80 games worth of center field play. If he cracks the major league roster, which I would expect, he would have a significant chance to do so, or at least be the first man up on that shuttle when Aaron Hicks inevitably gets hurt. You could do far worse than Ender Inciarte. The Yankees are, again, a 2017-2018 Gold Glove All-Star that they are catching 3 years late, not 7 or 8 years late. It's completely unexpected that they would be able to pull off a maneuver like this, especially, with a board group of GMs who have nothing else to do and no other way to function. Like, the Yankees managed to outbid the world for Ender Inciarte when there are obviously teams with, a team like the Royals has Michael A. Taylor in center. They don't want to alternate and use Inciarte there. Like, there are plenty of last place teams who can give Inciarte 150 assured appearances in center field this year. He was just DFA'd by the world champs last year. I don't think a team worse than the Braves cuts Ender Inciarte in the middle of that injury-plagued season. They probably give him the chance to work it out, but the Braves said, we have championship aspirations. You got to go. And for him to hook on with the Yankees already so soon is, relatively surprising. I fully did not see this coming, and I'm enthusiastic about it, or at least as enthusiastic as I can be for somebody who's assessing 31-year-old recently DFA'd minor league signings. But cool. It's very cool.
Yeah. Maximize the reps that need to be filled. Like I said, you're not getting an all-star, a present all-star option here. But you never know. Changes of scenery help players all the time. Ender Inciarte was not having a good run of it in his last 3 seasons with the Braves. 2019 he was injured a bunch, and his batting average and base running suffered as a result. And then his short in 2020, terrible, but like, are we going to judge him on that? And then 2021 he was put on the COVID list. He missed some time. And then he was relegated to part-time duty. Brian Snitker, Braves manager, made that decision. And it clearly didn't work because he had a career low. Yeah, career low up until that point, 592 OPS. I'm not going to count the short in 2020 where he OPS 512.
And that throws off all the stats too. Like, he's played X games over the last couple of years. I mean, obviously, but he has been injury prone. You lose your Gold Glove speed at some point. But I think a lot of us New Yorkers remember him because he spent a lot of time tormenting Mets fans at Citi Field, both with game-ending leaping catches over that right center wall. He also hit a bomb at some point, I believe, that changed one of those Mets-Braves games. Good baseball player and a classic Yankees 9-hitter or 12th man. And he just showed up in the middle of the lockout.
Yeah, I think it's fine. And how old are we, dude? He was the Shelby Miller trade with Dansby Swanson. Like, where has life gone? I really don't know where it's gone. I'm assessing my life through old baseball trades now. That one felt like eons ago, and he is, like we just said, 31 years old. He could still potentially be relevant. And Shelby Miller, nowhere to be found. He is nowhere to be found.
Yeah, and I think he was traded at age 26, but I'm still sitting here being like, he's got to be like a 35-year-old dinosaur, right?
He was traded at 25, yeah.
Yeah, isn't Ender Inciarte the oldest man alive? No, he's not that old. He's in fact 31. I'm 31.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert for the podcast. So I can still kick it. I can still bat ninth for the Yankees.
Hell
I
yeah.
probably won't. Yeah, I mean, I don't have much more to say about Ender Inciarte. I actually can't say his name. There's something wrong with my mouth. Ender Inciarte, but when I try to move fast, I just don't get it out. I'm pumped that we had a signing to discuss. I mean, this doesn't go much deeper than that. As many people on Twitter have told me after baiting me, it isn't that deep, dude. But it really isn't that deep. It's an exciting little Scranton edition. And a lot of the chatter otherwise has been about somebody else who spent a lot of time at Scranton these past couple of years, Clint Frazier. And it's exciting to change the narrative a little bit and be able to announce a signing. Maybe the lockout ends sooner than we think it's going to. I don't think it will, but there's been a little bit of optimism lately. Teams like Twitter's leaking. Teams like the Astros are selling tickets for their late January fan fests that are entirely contingent on players showing up. Yeah. And so if fans buy tickets for that and the players don't show up because they legally can't, again, the Yankees aren't announcing the Ender Inciarte thing because they can't comment on anybody. That's why people are just picking up on it via the transactions wire, I assume. Otherwise, we'd be getting. I mean, they gave Wandy Peralta a stupid little graphic that said "Welcome to New York, Wandy" back when he was a nobody. So they would give Ender Inciarte a Photoshop. They'd rip the beard off. They'd be like, "Happy birthday, we love you." But people are, the Astros are functioning as if players are going to be able to report places on January 22nd. I don't think that'll be true, but they seem to think that way. Major League Baseball and the MLBPA aren't talking till the new year. They're not talking financials till the new year. That sounds bad. They got a lot of financials to work out. I don't think they're going to be able to do it in 3 weeks, but they want to have a nice long holiday. They're like Congress and the Senate. They're like, there's things to fix. America's broken. Baseball is canceled. Well, let's kick up our feet and enjoy the first Noel while all giving our family the Omicron variant.
I was just thinking, you were saying this might not be deeper than it is. What happens with Estevan Florial now? Does that mean they don't have faith in him? Does that mean maybe he's going to get traded? Does that mean they want to up the competition and see what he's made of? I don't know. Just things to consider, guys. No, don't really have to talk more about that. But
bats left, throws left, freshly 31. We're fans. I keep getting tricked by the same stuff. Like Esteban Florial just feels stale, even though he's played like 18 games as a major leaguer. Yeah, would probably be a better backup than Ender Inciarte. But I'm such a fool, and I'm like, whoa, Ender Inciarte. I'm just blinking at familiar names because Florial hasn't come up and stolen my heart in his first 16 games because I'm such a moron.
Or he broke his wrist once, and Yankee fans were like, "Yeah, not him anymore."
Yeah,
guess not.
Can't come back from that.
Oh, he got hurt once? No, we'll leave him.
No, your wrist never heals. That's famously not a fixable injury. Let's talk about the superstars on this team. Let's talk about Aaron Judge.
I like it.
With 14 minutes on Ender Inciarte. And honestly, tip of the cap to us, but moving along. Aaron Judge was spotted at a BP session this week wearing a Golden State Warriors t-shirt, which is exactly what I would wear if I wanted to be good at my chosen sport. Steph Curry, pretty good. All-time record holder, 3-pointers. He's going to run and hide with that record. Nobody else is catching Steph Curry, and hopefully nobody's catching Aaron Judge this year either. Whoever was taping him, a weird guy taping Aaron Judge in the middle of his BP session, probably for him to review later, but maybe for nefarious purposes. I don't know. Maybe it was the Red Sox video coordinator, JT Watkins. But Aaron Judge turned and looked at the guy videotaping him in the BP session and said, I'm going for 50 again this year. That's what he said. It's currently his walk year. It shouldn't be his walk year because the Yankees should extend Aaron Judge, who is literally Aaron Judge, but they haven't done it yet. It remains his walk year. He's not under contract for next season, and he is motivated and in the cage this holiday season, ready to hit 50 bombs, which he has not done since he hit 52 in his rookie year of 2017. We were all waiting for a full year of Judge before starting to make these declarations about his extension. We got it this year. He played in 148 games, which was basically as many as he could play other than the COVID mishap during the middle of the summer. It's clearly not that hard to get COVID these days. People are definitely getting examples of how easy it is for that disease to go from person to person. And Aaron Judge is somebody who acquired it in the middle of the summer. But other than that, played basically every game he was eligible to play and dominated. 149 OPS plus, same way above average production as always. He almost got to 100 RBI. He got to 39 homers. Pretty close to a 4,100. Couldn't quite make it, but a damn fine full season from Aaron Judge, who is now ready to one-up himself and go to 50. Thomas, this is a two-part question. The extensions we've seen floating around, Are you on board for those? Do you think it's going to cost more than those rumored extensions? Would you hit the yes button right now if those were in front of you? And two, do you think Judge can actually get to 50 in this all-important freshly married season?
Congrats on the sex, Aaron. He's feeling it, dude. Guy gets married. He's got probably away in Hawaii having like a little mini moon before they do the big thing, and he's just amped. He's ready to hit 50 bombs again. I'm totally on board with these extensions. You look at them, the one Joel Sherman proposed, I think was a 5-year, 189 million with a 6-year option. And Ken Davidoff's was a little bit more complicated. It had some player opt-outs in there, and then it had some other options down the road.
It got up to like 238, I think, and there were some unfortunate options in there, but I haven't seen one over like 240 for like 6 or 7 years.
Look, I mean, I'm not in the business of disrespecting players for what they deserve. I just think, your Aaron Judge is 30 now. Not a long track record of playing healthy. I understand he did what he had to do last year. He played the fullest season he could have possibly played. Missing 14 games is not a big deal. You're going to get 5 or 6 games of rest time in there, and then he missed that week and a half or 2 weeks with COVID. He was the most consistent player on the team, clearly the best player on the team, both all around defensively and offensively. Sherman's contract I like better. I think these are more so the model of what should maybe be birthed out of this lockout. Birthed out of the lockout. Let's figure out a new thing where everybody can have fun. I'm not here to be like, oh, let's save the owner's money, but 10-year deals are just onerous in so many ways that you have a declining player at 37, 38 who's just can no longer do it. And it's either eating at the payroll or it's taking up a spot on the roster that doesn't need to be taken up. Give Judge 5 years. That takes him through age 35, makes $36 million a year on that deal. I think that's pretty fair. Don't you? It's a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
And you're making big bucks in the short term. It's not like it's backloaded or you're not guaranteed the money or you think you should be making 100 or 200 million more. Judge is not in his 20s, so that's going to affect the negotiating. But I do think he should get a higher AAV if it's a shorter term deal. It's common sense. It's just what it should be. And I think if you have a deal in the 189 million range with an option for a 6th, and maybe you give him maybe it's like a $36 million salary and like a $12 million buyout, he still eclipses the 200 million mark over the course of the 5 years. I think everyone's happy there. And do I think he could hit 50? Absolutely. If his season doesn't get interrupted by COVID, maybe he does. When he's on fire, he's hitting beach balls out there. He's seeing beach balls out there. It's unbelievable. So he is essential to what the Yankees need to do in terms of keeping this core together and making sure that they're on the right trajectory for whatever happens beyond 2022. I know we talked a lot about all these guys coming off the books next year. It's crazy. Judge is one of them, potentially, if they don't sign him to an extension. Then you have Britton, Chapman, Gary Sanchez, Jameson Tyone, Chad Green. A lot of money coming off. A lot of retooling that's going to have to happen. You're not really going to want to retool with the guy who is the supposed face of the franchise. So figure him out. The other ancillary pieces, I think we'll be able to take care of. Brian Cashman's a capable enough GM when he's not bogged down by Hal's constraints or whatever it is. So I'm on board with all of it. I'm in for 50. I'll take the over on 49.5. Let's have some fun, dude.
Yeah, this is I'll take the over too. Why the hell not?
Yeah.
I mean, we've got special event baseballs. The Yankees are going to be playing all these fancy games. They're going to send them to London and send them to the Field of Dreams. I'm sure Judge will be able to get 3, 4, 5, 6 bombs off the Sunday Night Baseball balls, which pop a little different. Super balls. Yeah. Anthony Rizzo made that very clear. Super balls. I mean, those are not real. Rob Manfred just like fucking around with everybody's money, but also changing the baseballs on a whim. Pitchers can't throw sticky stuff. Primetime games, the balls bounce over the fences. I'm sure he changes rules on the fly too. Remember, Judge did hit 53 home runs that rookie year. One got taken away. It actually should have been 53. One hit a seat. It was said to hit the wall. It didn't. So if it was his career high, could he go for 52 in a full season? Absolutely. Yeah, one 154 games is a full Judge season. Theoretically, he needs days off. He certainly seemed to turn a corner in maintaining his own body last year. He's already back in the cage, looking full strength and healthy. I'm not going to make predictions about Aaron Judge's health because I know not to trip into those waters, but 50 is not out of the question, and I'm going to hammer it because it's more fun to root for Aaron Judge to hit 50 bombs than it is to be satisfied with 32. That's not Aaron Judge. Now, it's still pretty great value, and I'm sure he's hitting doubles, and I'm sure he's fielding a Gold Glove right field, and he's still got that hose for an arm, and even though he's pulling up short in front of fences so that he's not running into them and ramming his knees into the short wall, he's still a damn good fielder out there. He provides a ton of value even if he's not hitting 50 bombs, but let's get you some 50 bombs. And in terms of the extension, like, he wants to be here. They clearly want him to be here, and it's holding up the rest of the offseason that he's not here long term. So maybe we all just wake up on day one post-lockout and just get that done. Yeah. 6 years, 189, 7 years, 240. I actually don't care. Those are both fine. Those are both totally fine numbers. If you let that preclude you from doing other things, those numbers, if those are the numbers that gets Hal Steinbrenner to be like, we just can't do it, then that's embarrassing. You don't have that. That's my whole, I mean, I'll just do 30 seconds here. That's distillation of the whole thing. But the Red Sox want to be poor. The Red Sox desperately want to be poor. They're the NYU freshmen showing up in, designer clothes that look like they're covered in dirt and ripped jeans. That's the Boston Red Sox. They want to trade Mookie Betts so they can rebuild from the inside out. They want to continue selling you on prospects. I just don't want the Yankees to think that's a good idea or to do that. They can extend Aaron Judge to whatever price, and they can still afford free agents. No Aaron Judge extension, whether it becomes a calamity or not. And by the way, I don't think it will become a calamity, but if by year 6, you're no longer satisfied with the Aaron Judge extension, the Yankees have enough money where they don't have to cry poor, and they don't have to use it to stop them from signing other free agents, no matter what the cost is. Aaron Judge is your captain. If he can't play 160 games 6 years from now, he'll happily sit on the bench and teach other players how to use that porch and rip balls to the bleachers. You just don't have to play poor if you don't want to. You don't have to wear the ripped jeans. You don't have to show up in the orphan hat. You could just be the New York Yankees, and none of these proposed Judge extensions will stop them from spending at any point in the future. Even if it goes sour, the minute worry that it might go sour is not worth anybody's time. End rant. So let's move on to potential catching solutions. Shall we?
Shall we?
I'm going to turn the floor over to you because the Oakland Athletics we just can't stop looking at them, and we never will. We've got our eyes on Matt Olson. People, that's at the 1 yard line. And I'm assuming day one post lockout, that'll get finished. But it's not, it's worth talking Matt Olson alone. But if you're talking to the A's, you might as well talk about the other pitchers who are available: Sean Manaea, Chris Bassett, Frankie Montas. All of them would help the Yankees, and I would expand any Matt Olson deal to also include them. Now, what about Sean Murphy, the A's catcher, who we could expand this one step further, make it a mega deal, and finally have an alternative to Gary Sanchez? What say you?
Why not? I was surprised when I saw Kyler McDaniel of ESPN, MLB Insider. He had this in his article on Wednesday evening. Just some lockout buzz, like we said. We're circulating the buzz. We're trying to figure out what's going on.
Kylie McDaniel.
Yeah, he talked about the A's in that column, and the obvious names popped up. Matt Olson, Sean Manaea, Chris Bassett, Frankie Montas. So you look at those guys and you're like, yeah, like a package deal, need a starter, could use a first baseman. I think Montas, correct me if I'm wrong, it's Montas, Bassett, and Olson who have the rising arbitration costs. Oh no, Manaea's up there
too. Yeah, they're all hitting the end of that.
Yeah, so they're all going to be on the block. Yeah. And then McDaniel, later down in the paragraph about the A's, says some have whispered that catcher Sean Murphy, who has 4 years of control left, could also be had for the right offer. So what kind of? Yeah, I don't know. The dude's from Peekskill, New York. If you folks are familiar with that, about an hour north of the city. So pretty cool. Could be a hometown type deal here if we can get it to work. But I don't know what we're looking at here if you're going to do Olson, a pitcher, and catcher. The other thing that kind of bothers me about these types of deals is like we're taking an entire other team and we're like, okay, yeah, now this is our team. That's what bothered me about the JV and Carlos Correa rumors. It's like, okay, I'm going to take the 2017 through 2019 Astros core players and then win a World Series with them. It doesn't feel genuine, but this is the A's. It's a little bit different. And if they're willingly selling because they're not going to pay these guys or they want to rebuild, this is a perfect match. Everyone was talking pre-lockout. why it was so obvious. I mean, that's why all these reports about Matt Olson came out, was because it was the easiest thing to speculate. If you're just a person with a brain, oh, the A's are getting rid of these people. Oh, the Yankees have one of the deepest farm systems in the league and don't need all of these prospects. Yeah, that makes sense. Let me come up with a prospect package off the top of my head and tell you it's on the 1 yard line. And then if it comes true, I'll look like a genius. Yeah, we could have done that too. We didn't do it. But there's a reason that was the discussion that was being fostered, because obvious match. The Yankees can expedite the A's rebuild like that. The A's are very good at expediting their own rebuilds. They do this every 4 or 5 years. And you'll notice they have one okay year back into contention the next. So obvious way to help here, but how big is this deal going to get? How big would this hypothetical deal get? You're talking about Matt Olson, you're talking about Sean Murphy, and you're talking about a starting pitcher. That's 3 players. Sean Murphy's Gold Glove catcher as of last year. Similar numbers to Gary Sanchez when he's performing average. When offensively. Yeah. He's a better defensive backstop. And Gary's, 20 homers for 60 RBIs. Sean Murphy can replicate that, no problem. So you're talking about, and he's got 4 years of control, relatively cheap. And then you're talking about one of these starters who have 1 or 2 years left to control, $10 million or more, I believe, for most of them. I think Montas might be right on the cusp at like 8 million or something. The other 2 are definitely 10 million or more. So what do you look at here? Like, one of the top shortstop prospects has to be involved, Volpe or Peraza. I think the Yankees are going to do the best they can to have it be Peraza instead of Volpe. And here's a package that I kind of just came up with off the top of my head. If you're going to do Olson, Bassett, you probably want the hard throwing righty, and Murphy, Luke Voit, Domingo Germán, Peraza, Luis Gil, Austin Wells, Trey Sweeney, Elijah Dunham. This is going to take a lot of people, guys. This is 3. It is. I don't know if that's too much. That's 3 top 7 prospects. And then you get Dunham, who had a great year, young outfielder. And then you toss in, Dunham was the only one out, but you toss in Domingo Germán, a guy the A's could use to stay relatively competitive as best they can, have him maybe be part of the rotation for the next 2-3 years as they introduce this new rebuild. I don't know if that's crazy. The other option I had here was maybe substituting one of the position players for Luis Medina, or throwing in Estevan Florial instead of one of those other guys. I don't know what the A's are looking for. I just know that they're going to want value if they're trading this many controllable major league players. Olson has 2 years left. The pitchers have 1 or 2 year left, and Murphy has 4, like I said. So I don't think it's a bad. Maybe they take Gary Sanchez, because Gary Sanchez is an expiring deal. They know that $8 million is coming off the books, and hey, if he has a good year with Oakland, maybe, I don't know, maybe they work out a team-friendly contract extension and he stays there. I have no idea what the A's are thinking, or it at least gives the Yankees another avenue to go around, trade Gary for something else. Am I on board with this? I think it's a lot. I don't know. I'd have to think about it for a little bit longer. But I mean, improving defense at that capacity behind the plate for that many years looking ahead, I think would solve a lot of the team's problems, and obviously not have to have another cloud over our head this year being like, oh, is Gary Sanchez going to be re-signed? Every defensive gaffe means Gary Sanchez is not going to be re-signed. He struck out in a big spot. We're not re-signing Gary Sanchez. Don't really want to hear that for another year. I don't know about you, but that's kind of where I stand.
I mean, that's certainly how we'd cover it if Gary Sanchez had more defensive gaffes. This defensive gaffe means Gary Sanchez gone. This defensive gaffe proves Gary Sanchez stay. That would just occur. I have very little interest in seeing Gary Sanchez on my opening day roster. I've also accepted that I will see Gary Sanchez on my opening day roster. It is what it is. It's light. I mean, this would take everything short of Dominguez and one of Volpe or Peraza. We'd keep one of them, we'd give the other one away. Dominguez would stay, and this would basically be the rest of the top, 5 of the other top 8 guys in the farm system. It is what it is. It's an insane trade. Maybe the Yankees just go with something like Peraza, Medina, Gil for Sean Murphy, and forget about the Matt Olson element of it all. And the pitcher, I would rather have Olson. I would also rather have the starting pitcher. Sean Murphy, quite frankly, is the 3rd priority for me, just because, good defensive catcher. You could get Tucker Barnhart. You should have done that earlier. You should have done Jacob Stallings if you're going to do Sean Murphy. He's a slightly higher upside, but still basically a roughly league average bat. And his last season was less than impressive. It was like 14 strikeouts in 119 games in 2021 after a really good short in 2020. Looked a little bit less like the guy that we expected him to after his beastly, cameo in 2019 and shortened season 2020. You'd be taking a chance on him as well. I would, of course, throw him in, but the 4 years of control obviously makes this a bit of a dicier proposition. Trust us, Yankee fans, it's going to cost all of the dudes, basically, if you want to remake your roster in the image of the Oakland A's. Though trading Gary Sanchez as part of that deal intrigues me. So before we sign off, let's talk about Eric Hosmer a little bit, and I'll toss this back to you as well, because the Yankees do have a first base need. We've been very reductively putting this at a 3-man horse race between Anthony Rizzo, the fallback, which is not fair to him, and it involves him having to be circled back to after the Yankees have already lost out on 2 other options, which, again, not fair. Anthony Rizzo can sign a 1-year, $14 million deal the second the lockout ends with somebody else, and this plan that all Yankee fans have assumed is reality involves them being like, Anthony, sit tight, don't do anything, give us a week and a half, and then we'll talk to you, which is basically the way that the Miami coaching search just went, where they were like, Manny Diaz is our head coach, unless somebody else wants to be our head coach. Nobody does? Okay, Manny is still our head coach. And does anybody else hear the press conference and decide they wanted to be? No? Okay, Manny's still the head coach. Like, that's the Anthony Rizzo thing. It's like, we're going to look for first baseman. Unless Anthony Rizzo wants to come back, well, he can. We'll be in touch. So Rizzo is the fallback, and that's sad and weird. And he might jump the gun and sign somewhere else. I would, if people were like, just sit tight, don't do shit. I would be like, okay, well, I'm going to sign with the team that wants me. Matt Olson and Freddie Freeman are the other two. The Matt Olson trade, the Freddie Freeman signing, the Braves disillusionment, and all that weird stuff going on in Atlanta. The Dodgers and Yankees set to pounce. What about Eric Hosmer, who is going to cost about Anthony Rizzo money, produce less than Anthony Rizzo at the bat, but not drastically less than what Rizzo gave us last year, which is weird, and is a bat who could potentially abuse the short porch. Of course, Hosmer is classically a bad contract. With people to give examples of bad contracts, he is one of the guys. That would mean if acquiring Eric Hosmer would probably come with a top 5 Padres prospect. So weigh in on this.
I don't see why this is a bad idea. Is it my first choice? No, this is plan D. I'm going to preface that now. This is plan D. If Freeman out, okay, great. You go for Olsen next. If the price is there, if the price there is too high, whatever, you go to Rizzo. Maybe you're not getting as high as other suitors are in the open market. I don't see why you don't try this. The remaining money on his contract, 4 years, $59 million. That's $14.75 million a year. You've done worse than that, haven't you? You've overpaid players much worse than that. And on top of that, he has player options for every year after 2022. So let's say he has a bang-up 2022 and he abuses the short porch if he comes to New York, and there's a renewed market for him, and there's not a great market in 2023. Maybe he opts out, and you're like, okay, great. Now we're not on the hook for, the 3 years and $39 million that's left after that, because 2022 is a $20 million salary. But the other advantage here is the Padres reportedly were willing to include a top 5 prospect here, like you said. So Padres, very good farm system. They've used their farm system depth over the last 2 or 3 years to make the roster that they had. Hopefully they think former A's manager Bob Melvin is going to be able to elevate it. We will see about that next year. But you get one of these top prospects just in exchange for a 4-year, $59 million contract, which is literally nothing. You'll be paying Rizzo the same amount of money for a little bit more power and slightly better defense, but we're not entirely sure if the decline in 2021 that we saw from Rizzo is an actual regression. So, eyebrows a little bit raised there. I do like Rizzo, though. I would like him on my team. I'll take him back in any second. But you talk about replenishing your farm system with a top 5 prospect. If you're going to go out, say the Matt Olson trade's too expensive and Freeman's not an option and Rizzo signs elsewhere, maybe you trade with the A's for Murphy and a starting pitcher, and then you go trade with the Padres for Eric Hosmer. Like I said, you don't need the best players at every position. Hosmer really wasn't, I don't know why this is like now determined like the worst contract in the world. He's totally fine. Batted .270 last year, OPS slightly above average, 104 OPS plus. Like, this isn't the worst deal in the world. I know like the power could be better. 28 doubles and 12 homers. You'd like to see more than that in 151 games, but guess what? This guy has missed 40 games since the start of 2017. He is always on the field. Yankee fans, value players however you want. A big value for me, for anybody on this roster, is availability, because we've seen so many years since 2017. Guys missing time. It's affecting the roster. It's affecting their output because they're not getting in the rhythms. They're not getting those consistent reps that they should be getting. I don't know. And lefty, you look at Eric Hosmer's spray charts, he pulls a lot of his power shots. So we're always talking about these guys taking advantage of the short porch and how it's a dream and all that. We thought Joey Gallo would. He did not in his 58-game cameo. Eric Hosmer is a pretty good bet to do that. And he also has a penchant for hitting the ball to all fields with his singles and whatnot. So he's not strictly a pull hitter, but his power shots are typically pulled. And if you're looking at, you're looking at, say, what is Rizzo going to cost? Like
15, 16 mil a year.
Yeah, exactly. So you're paying the same amount and you're getting a top 5 prospect back in return, and you're trading a few home runs. Rizzo's probably good for what at this point in his career, 22.
Yeah, I mean, if we're judging him on the 111 OPS plus last year, it's going to be a 20 to 25 homer max guy with 30 doubles, valuable player. And if the back issue isn't too bad, valuable player, but not quite the 140 OPS plus dude we've seen.
Yeah, I'm just saying there's not that big of a drop off. And if you're getting a top 5 prospect in return and there's player options in this deal, maybe Hosmer doesn't like New York and he wants to get out in the last year and he leaves 13 million on the table and I don't know, dude, crazy shit happens all the time. I'm just spitballing here, but you're talking about durability. You're talking about a guy who's always OPSing in the 7s. I know that's not like the sexiest thing in the world, but like he just came off his final year in Kansas City, played back in 2017, played in all 162 games, had a career year with an 882 OPS. Obviously that was a little bit less indicative of what he's doing now, but 2019, 22 homers, 99 RBIs, 735 OPS, like that's fine for me. Don't need the number one option on the market if we can't get it. I don't think this is a bad plan D. I also don't think it's a bad idea for the Yankees to consider a little bit early if they could snag a top pitching prospect, if they're going to get rid of some of their other guys, or they take that top pitching prospect from the Padres and use it in a deal with the A's, or use it in a deal for Luis Castillo with the Reds. I don't know. Stuff is happening. It's possible to do it. Why not? Get creative.
I have always said that Hosmer would be a good Red Sox and a terrible Yankee.
Yes.
I maintain that, but it's at least something to think about. And maybe we block him from the Red Sox and we'll never find out. It would be wonderful to never learn that information for sure. That is it for this edition of the Yanks Go Yard podcast with an actual signing. Ender Inciarte bulletin. Feels good to break news. Again, it's been far too long. Until next time, find us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. Drop us a 5-star review along with a mailbag question. We'll be more than happy to talk it out. You can listen to this very same podcast, again, going up on all those platforms later today, and find us on YouTube Live and Twitter Live Monday and Thursdays, 2 p.m. Eastern Time. Until next time, I'm Adam Weinrib. You can find me on Twitter at Adam Weinrib. You can find trade proposals like Aaron Hicks and Gary Sanchez for Eric Hosmer below. Thomas Carannante, where can people shout proposals at you?
I'm at Tommy's_takes, Hicks and Gary for Hosmer. I don't know. Maybe I don't know. I don't know what happens there. We got to take out the prospect though, because that's not gonna fly with San Diego. Head on over to yanksgoyard.com. We got plenty of content there for you. We're talking a little bit more in depth about this Hosmer deal tomorrow. We're talking a little bit more in depth about the potential Sean Murphy expanded package over the weekend. Adam's got a ton of stuff up there for you, ready to digest, ready to enjoy. Have a good weekend, everybody. The next time we'll talk to you is Monday, and that'll be the last set of episodes before the holiday. We're going to have a great time. We'll see you then.
Wow. Goodbye, everybody.